Welcome to today's brand origin deep dive. You've heard of the product, but do you know how a forgotten server room and a team of frustrated engineers nearly rewrote the rules of an entire industry? If you find value in this kind of storytelling, consider liking the video and subscribing. It helps more than you know. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, or your first memory of this revolutionary brand. Let's dive in and discover how it all began. You stand in the chilled quiet of a forgotten server room, air thick with the scent of ozone and dust. Row upon row of obsolete hardware hums a low, melancholic tune. Your fingers trace the faded label on a reinforced steel door. Project Midway, decommissioned. Inside, sealed for decades, lie the first whispers of a gamble so audacious, it nearly shattered one of the world's largest companies. This is where the story begins, not in glossy showrooms, but in the underbelly. The labs where impossible ideas were born and struggled for life. You are here to uncover the hidden circuitry, the discarded designs, the desperate memos that tell the true tale of how Microsoft, the titan of software, dared to challenge the emperors of gaming. You listen closely to the lingering hum. It carries echoes of ambition, fear, and a glowing green light. Delving into the deep origins, you trace the first sparks back to the late 1990s, where a core team within Microsoft's DirectX division felt increasingly shackled. Their passion for PC gaming was constantly tripped up by the fragmented, ever-changing landscape of graphics cards and sound chips. It was like trying to race a Formula One car on a different, bumpy track every day. Frustration boiled over, leading to the clandestine formation of the DirectX box concept. A direct challenge to the company's software-centric identity. This radical idea, hatched in defiance of anticipated corporate skepticism, marks a major historical turning point. The moment Microsoft secretly considered becoming a hardware player in the consumer electronics space. You uncover documents detailing the initial prototypes, massive, almost comically oversized beasts hidden away in nondescript Redmond labs, powered by desktop PC parts. This quirky detail, the sheer physical clunkiness of the DirectX box compared to the sleek consoles of the day, highlights the raw, unrefined nature of the idea. Figures like Seamus Blackley and his initial team emerge as the rogue engineers who championed this vision, facing internal resistance and derision from other Microsoft divisions who saw it as a fool's errand. The brand core explored here is precisely this radical departure. Microsoft, the software giant, daring to build physical consumer hardware. The emotional shift is palpable, moving from quiet, almost secretive innovation to intense internal conflict and corporate politics. The symbolic motif of a struggling, slightly sickly green light emanating from those early prototype power buttons is introduced, a faint glow of hope against the darkness of internal doubt and external market dominance. Brand historians still debate whether this early, audacious internal rebellion was a stroke of genius or corporate insanity. Foreshadowing looms large. The scale of the challenge ahead, taking on giants like Sony and Nintendo, is immense, and the corporate battles necessary to even launch this idea will be brutal. Content for sections 2 to 5 would go here, building on the narrative of section 1, including transitions. And so, we slow down the rhythm, reflecting on a journey that began in the quiet hum of a decommissioned server room. The story of the Xbox brand is more than just consoles and controllers. It's a testament to the power of a radical idea, born from frustration and fueled by unlikely champions. We've seen how a software titan dared to challenge established empires, navigated brutal market wars, and weathered existential crises, ultimately carving out its unique space in gaming culture. The green light, once a symbol of a struggling prototype, evolved into a vibrant beacon recognized worldwide, representing connection, entertainment, and a different way to play. The legacy isn't just in the millions of consoles sold or games played, but in the sheer audacity of the attempt. It's a story of corporate courage, the chaotic energy of innovation, and the unpredictable paths brands take on their journey. And maybe, just maybe, the soul of a brand is never in its product, but in the people, stories, and stumbles that shape it. Building on what came before, you now follow the paper trail left by the Xbox project's fight for corporate survival. These early documents lay bare the intense internal debates and power struggles that consumed the team as they desperately sought funding and legitimacy. They were up against behemoths like the Windows and Office divisions, corporate immune systems built to reject foreign bodies. This was a true skunkworks operation, tucked away, pitching for its life in sterile meeting rooms filled with the smell of stale coffee and flickering projector slides. The pressure cooker environment was fueled by the looming success of Sony's PlayStation 2, a clear and present danger Microsoft felt it had to counter. You uncover early design concepts for the console, witnessing debates over its size, features, and the controversial inclusion of a hard drive and Ethernet port. These were revolutionary but expensive choices at the time, a gamble that analysts continue to question the reasoning behind given the financial strain. The emotional shift is palpable. From internal conflict, the team feels increasingly isolated, facing down a corporate environment determined to reject them. Yet, the green light motif persists, representing their desperate hope, burning brightly in the dark corners of Microsoft, a beacon in the isolation. Building on the internal engineering struggles and the creation of the formidable Duke controller, the beast is ready to be unleashed. You step into the chaotic energy of the Xbox's public debut. It begins surprisingly at the Game Developers Conference, where Bill Gates himself takes the stage, a tech mogul addressing a room of game creators, sending immediate shockwaves through the industry. But the real spectacle, the crucial launch moment, explodes at E3 2001. The atmosphere is overwhelming, a symphony of booming audio, dazzling light shows, and buzzing crowds. You see the retail packaging for the first time, emblazoned with that now familiar green light motif, repeated on demo consoles. The reaction is a mix of astonishment at the raw power on display and deep skepticism. Can Microsoft, the software giant, truly compete with gaming titans like Sony and Nintendo? Analysts continue to question the reasoning behind Microsoft's brute force approach to entering a market built on culture and legacy, not just teraflops. Direct confrontation is the name of the game, positioning Xbox squarely against the dominant PlayStation 2. Early marketing campaigns raise eyebrows, sometimes controversially, like the infamous baby launching ad intended to shock, but mostly just confusing consumers. This highlights the initial struggle, not just to sell units, but to define what Xbox means to people beyond the powerful black box. The emotional shift is palpable. From the internal pressure of development, the team now faces external ridicule and the immense market pressure of gaining any traction against a juggernaut. That green light, is it the symbol of innovation, or is it just corporate greenwashing, an attempt to look cool? Meanwhile, unseen by the public, the sheer financial losses being incurred are staggering, foreshadowing hard decisions waiting just around the corner. Building on the momentum from its groundbreaking debut, the brand shifted focus to its ambitious successor, the Xbox 360. You witness an engineering rush, a high-stakes race to deliver cutting-edge hardware. But this speed came at a cost. Lurking within many of these sleek machines was a fundamental design flaw, often tied to overheating and connections under stress. This wasn't a minor bug. It was the red ring of death, a catastrophic hardware failure indicated by 3 terrifying red lights encircling the power button. The scale of the problem quickly became apparent. Customer complaints flooded in, revealing a failure rate that threatened to sink the entire venture. You could almost hear the dreaded sound, or lack thereof, when the screen went black, replaced by that ominous crimson stain. The heat radiating from failing consoles became a physical manifestation of the crisis. Recall notices appeared, stark and urgent. This wasn't just an inconvenience, it was an existential crisis for the brand. Internally, panic set in. This was a desperate fight for survival against immense financial and reputational damage. Analysts continue to question whether the initial pressure to launch ahead of competitors justified the crisis that followed. This massive, unprecedented recall and repair operation tested the brand core to its absolute limit, forcing a reckoning with its own engineering practices and commitment to quality. The once comforting green light motif was horrifically transformed, overwhelmed by the ominous red ring of doom. Lessons learned from this painful chapter would forever shape the brand's strategy and identity. Building on the lessons learned from the RROD crisis, you witness a pivotal transformation. The brand, shaken but resilient, begins a strategic shift away from being solely a hardware company. The focus turns intensely towards services, particularly Xbox Live, ushering in an era dominated by subscriptions and digital content. The quiet whir of disk drives grows less frequent, replaced by the clean interface sounds of digital storefronts and the abstract pings of online notifications. This strategic pivot culminates years later in the ambitious development of Game Pass, an all-you-can-eat model that challenges traditional ownership entirely. Behind the scenes, intense debates rage. Should physical media be phased out entirely? What is an Xbox if not just a box? You get glimpses of internal struggles, like a leaked excerpt from a rebrand deck, exploring wild new taglines and mission statements. Defining the brand's identity in this increasingly digital, cloud-connected world becomes a central challenge. Even the era of the Xbox 360's post-RROD success is now viewed through the lens of this evolving strategy. The familiar green light adapts, no longer just a console glow, but appearing in digital interfaces, on abstract server racks, representing connection, but also perhaps the vast, sometimes impersonal reach of corporate data. Brand historians still debate whether the push into pure service risked alienating the core fans who loved the console itself. This era foreshadows the delicate balancing act the brand would face, integrating this new service model while honoring its roots in traditional gaming. Building on the brand's global impact, you look at the modern state of Xbox, a story less about a single device and more about a sprawling ecosystem. The road wasn't always smooth. After the triumphant early years, the Xbox One launch felt like a significant stumble, burdened by questionable decisions around connectivity and media features that alienated early fans. It was a stark reminder that despite past successes, technical and strategic pitfalls still loomed large. Yet, true to its roots of reinvention, a major turning point arrived: the pivot to Game Pass. This wasn't just a new service. It was a fundamental shift, diffusing the brand's core identity across dedicated hardware, PC, and emerging cloud gaming platforms, echoing the initial gamble to go beyond the Windows box. Analysts continue to question whether the challenging Xbox One era was a necessary crucible, forcing the resilience needed for this bold subscription-based transformation. Internally, the Game Pass concept reportedly faced significant skepticism, seen by some as potentially cannibalizing traditional software sales. A classic corporate drama playing out behind closed doors. A quirky detail in its evolution. The green glowing light, once singularly tied to a console, now flickers on PC apps, mobile screens via cloud streaming, and within vast server racks across the globe. What does it represent today? Is it a symbol of resilience through adversity, constant digital transformation, or simply another corporate logo potentially stripped of its initial insurgent meaning? The journey from an impossible idea to a global interactive platform is undeniable, a testament to persistence. But the final emotional beat is one of ambiguity. Has Microsoft truly found its ultimate place in the gaming landscape, or is this just the current, temporary phase in an unending cycle of reinvention? The ongoing, unsettling hum in the server room continues, waiting for what comes next. So you've witnessed the impossible idea take shape, from a daring project born in the heart of a software giant to a global force spanning hardware, software, and services. Looking back, the journey of Xbox is a powerful reminder of the scale of the original gamble and the relentless, sometimes brutal process of corporate transformation. It teaches us that even established titans must risk everything to find new relevance, and that failure, like the stumble of the Xbox One launch, isn't necessarily an ending, but often a catalyst for profound change. The brand's identity, once fixed to a single box, has diffused, becoming something less tangible but perhaps more enduring: a service, a community, a digital destination. The green light, which guided that initial impossible push, now glows with a multifaceted symbolism: resilience, adaptation, the ever-present hum of the digital infrastructure connecting millions. It represents the ongoing story, the questions still unanswered about the brand's final form and purpose. There is no neat epilogue, no final chapter closed. The legacy isn't a finished statue, but a living, breathing entity, constantly shifting, always reaching for what's next. And maybe, just maybe, the soul of a brand is never solely in its product or its profits, but in the people who dreamed it, the battles they fought, the stumbles they endured, and the persistent, unsettling hum of the machine waiting for its next evolution.